Chapter 12, Fetish, in which the voyager attempts cautiously to approach the subject of fetish, and gives a classification of spirits and some account of the ibit and orunda. Having given some account of my personal experiences among an African tribe in its original state, i.e., in a state uninfluenced by European ideas and culture, I will make an attempt to give a rough sketch of the African form of thought and the difficulties of studying it, because the study of this thing is my chief motive for going to West Africa. Since 1893, I have been collecting information in its native state regarding fetish, and I use the usual term fetish and juju because they have among us a certain fixed value, a conventional value, but a useful one. Neither fetish nor juju are native words. Fetish comes from the word the old Portuguese explorers used to designate the objects they thought the natives worshipped, and in which they were wise enough to recognize a certain similarity to their own little images and relics of saints. Fatico. Juju, on the other hand, is French and comes from the word for a toy or doll. So it is not so applicable as the Portuguese name, for the native image is not a doll or toy, and has far more affinity to the image of a saint, inasmuch as it is not venerated for itself, or treasured because of its prettiness, but only because it is the residence, or the occasional haunt, of a spirit. Stalking the wild West African idea is one of the most charming pursuits in the world. Quite apart from the intellectual, it has a high sporting interest, for its pursuit is as beset with difficulty and danger as grizzly bear hunting. Yet the climate in which you carry on this pursuit, vile as it is warm, which to me is almost an essential of existence. I beg you to understand that I make no pretension to a thorough knowledge of fetish ideas. I am only on the threshold. Ik wist niet al doch veel is meer bankenat, as Faust said, and, like him, after he had said it, I have got a lot to learn. I do not intend here to weary you with more than a small portion of even my present knowledge, for I have great collection of facts that I keep only to compare with those of other hunters of the wild idea, and which in their present state are valueless to the cabinet ethnologist. Some of these may be rank lies, some of them mere individual mind freaks, others have underlying them some idea I am not at present in touch with. The difficulty of gaining a true conception of the savage's real idea is great and varied. In places on the coast where there is, or has been, much missionary influence, the trouble is greatest, for in the first case the natives carefully conceal things they fear will bring them into derision and contempt, although they still keep them in their innermost hearts, and in the second case you have a set of traditions which are Christian in origin, though frequently altered almost beyond recognition by being kept for years in the atmosphere of the African mind. For example, there is this beautiful story now extant among the Cabindas. God made at first all men black. He always does in the African story, and then he went across a great river and called men to follow him, and the wisest and bravest and the best plunged into the great river and crossed it, and the water washed them white. So they are the ancestors of white men. But the others were afraid too much, and said, "No, we are comfortable here. We have our dances and our tom-toms, and plenty to eat. We won't risk it. We'll stay here." And they remained in the old place, and from them come the black men. But to this day the white men come to the bank, on the other side of the river, and call to the black men, saying, "Come, it is better over here." I fear there is little doubt that this story is a modified version of some parable preached to the Canabindas, at the time of the Capuchins had such influence among them, before they were driven out of the lower Congo regions more than 100 years ago for political reasons by the Portuguese.